Osipovich claims he fired several warning shots at the jetliner. But did he follow the correct international procedures?
The international accepted procedure is for the fighters to come up alongside, make visual contact with the crew to alert them by either flashing their lights or firing cannons. The fighters that were sent up to intercept Korean Air did not follow the international procedures for interception and identification.
Following is the actual audio recording of the radio conversation between Osipovich and his commanding officer in the minutes leading up to the moment he fired his missiles.
I flashed warning lights, meaning you are trespassing. I shot 4 rounds, more than 250 shells from cannons. We have more than 500. I didn't see the shells. They had to see the flashes from the barrel. They're big at night. Everyone could see it. We used all possible means to let them know they were trespassing. Commands from the ground, from the air, by blinking lights, by warning shots from the cannons.
But why didn't KAL-007 see the warning shots from the Su-15? The answer lies in it beneath the 747, out of the pilot's line of sight. When we return, a massive cover-up and rumors of missing bodies. Was KAL-007 a spy plane? Or did the Soviets deliberately target a civilian aircraft over international waters? Did any of the passengers survive, only to be held captive? Next on Unsolved History. On September 1st, 1983, during the Cold War, a passenger plane was shot down by the Soviet Union. All of the 269 people aboard Korean Airlines Flight 007 were killed. The 747 was not on the expected flight course and had strayed into Soviet airspace. Not once, but twice.
How could it be that such an experienced and well-prepared crew and its captain, who had repeatedly flown the president of his country on this very route, could have gotten lost?
According to the Soviets, the tragic decision to destroy the civilian airliner was simply a case of mistaken identity. But one troubling question remains. Precisely where was the plane shot down?
Was the Korean airliner shot down in Soviet airspace or just seconds outside the Russian border?
Was it struck, as the Soviets claimed, in their airspace? Or is it possible that the Soviet fighter plane shot it down after it left Russian territory?
This is a detailed map of the search areas. Where was the plane found?
Right here, X marks the spot where the wreckage was located. It's interesting to note that if you trace the 12-mile limit around Monaran Island and the 12-mile limit off the west coast of Sakhalin, it is definitely in international waters.
Two crucial pieces of evidence were missing: the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder, the so-called black boxes.
The cockpit voice recorder does just what the name implies. It records all the sounds and all the voices that occur on the flight deck so that investigators can listen in and hear what's going on.
In 1992, 2 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia's first president, Boris Yeltsin, finally allowed access to KAL's black boxes.
The flight data recorder was missing for almost 10 years. Finally turned over to ICAO in 1992, when we were able to see these traces right here and all the rest of the data on the flight data recorder. Finally, for the first time, we could have a much better idea of exactly what happened aboard Korean Air 007 that night.
In order to confirm where KAL crashed, Unsolved History utilized a state-of-the-art search and rescue program called SARMAP. Working backwards, software designer Owen Howlett and oceanographer Malcolm Spaulding were able to calculate where the jumbo jet actually hit the water by using information about the debris found after the crash. Both tides and currents cause items in the water to move in predictable ways.
We have some indication about where the debris was found and roughly the time period that it occurred. And so let's say that the debris was being picked up along the shore in the southeast area of Akito Island in Japan. And so what we're looking for is actually where that path intersects with the flight path. Where we see these particles now intersect with the green line, which is K007's flight path, we would say that's probably the origin or the location of where the wreck site could be found.
After tracking the water patterns back to the crash site, Howlett and Spaulding confirmed their results by following the debris forward again.
Now that we have information about the actual wreck site, we've essentially overlaid where the wreck was found by the green airplane symbol that says wreck found, and we've overlaid on that as well the location of where we thought the search area should have been located for the debris field that we saw. See that the location of the wreck is to the south and west slightly of where the missile attack occurred, which seems consistent with the flight path and subsequent airplane motion after the attack occurred.
The wreckage was found by the divers here, which is approximately 38 kilometers, or that's about 20 nautical miles from Sakhalin Island.
Then that indicates that the wreckage was located just outside the 12-mile limit of territorial waters of the Soviet Union.
That's right, Ron. It looks like it was about 14 nautical miles offshore.
This confirms where the plane actually hit the water. But precisely where did the Soviet jet fire on the airliner? Did the deadly missile strike the jumbo jet when it was in neutral territory? Russian aviation investigators Vladimir Kofman and Yuri Chigurov were part of the original International Civil Aviation Organization team in 1983.
Presented here are the results of the decoding of the black box recording from plane KAL-007. The decoding was conducted in 1983. Because we did not have proper equipment, the decoding was done manually.
Based on data from Soviet radar, KAL-007 did not plunge straight down after being struck by the missile. Instead, it went into a long, wide spiral.
Here, on this graph, we see the plane's movements after it was hit. Here is the downward spiral with loss of altitude and speed. With the spiral descent, the plane's fuselage skin started disintegrating. The debris was dispersed over the 5 to 7 kilometer radius.
Adding to the mystery, submarine captain Mikhail Gears piloted one of the submersibles involved in the recovery.
We were actually looking for the Boeing, or what was left of it, underwater creatures that immediately eat everything, including crabs, and there was a strong current there.